Yeah,
front
I'll
of
pick
my
them up.
dining room.
Okay, no worries, Dick. I'll pick it up at some point. Very, very
Yeah,
good. No
it doesn't
worries.
matter.
Everything's good.
So it looks like we are reporting, and I'll have to, I will get when Lee gets on. I had an interesting call from from the the former uh, selectman, and she said that she was just calling to to let me know that the Carter Day Commission had told her that they didn't have any intention of opening the toilets for Carter Day. They said they're just going to have toilets, porta potties, and she asked them. They said, well, what about the your hand washing? And they said, oh, we'll just have some stands, some hand washing stands. And so I did tell her, I said, it's a big problem. The Board of Health is not going to be supportive of that at all because we're just ready to sign off on vendors, food vendors who are all saying they're using the water and the toilets for their food operations. And I did get a hold of uh, Randy Garvin, who who is the chairman of the committee for the Dufresne committee, the Charter Day committee. And I told him, I said, it's going to be a big issue with the board to try to figure out how many toilets, porta potties you're going to have, how you're going to clean it, how you're going to service the food people. That it's going to be a big problem. And and I said that the board isn't going to support it very well. I said I'm sure that without some kind of plan, a really good plan to make that work. And he said, well, his committee is meeting on Thursday, and he'll bring back to them that the board isn't in support of not using those toilets.
Dick, the main question is
Hello, hello.
why are the toilets at the pavilion not operational this year?
They just chose not to do it. They said they didn't feel like cleaning them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a fine idea.
So
I don't feel like cleaning them. That's great. So
yeah. So
that's what the
that
former
whole
select.
issue, and I told Randy, I said, there's a big issue with how you do the water and how it's distributed and all the
Oh
special
yes.
hoses and special hookups,
Oh
that it's
yes.
something that we still have, 3 or 4 weeks to go, and we should be working on it instead of going into something that's all confused.
That's right. Well,
So,
we'll
so
have to
that,
discuss this at a later date. This
yeah.
and we have to
Well,
resolve it
anyway,
rather quickly.
Mm.
I don't have any septic system. Neil's coming in at 7:15 for 74 Aldrich Street, but the system that he's got installed or proposed, I said I can't review. I didn't review it because the SAS is backed up against the bank, the steep bank that goes up into the ledge, and the bottom of the system is about 5 feet deep on a steep slope that I expect is ledge at about 18 inches. And I said, until you look at what's underneath that spot, and and it's not an easy spot to shift it. So I said, you have to. He said, well, just to prove it, subject to digging holes. I said, no, because it's probably the likelihood that it's going to fail is too high without an alternative. You can't review it until you know the answer. So so when Neil comes, I'm I'm guessing that's what he's going to ask us to do. But and the problem is where it's located. If you look at it, it's just up gradient from the well. The well's 100 feet away, but he'd be putting sewage right into the rock right
Mhm.
there that's probably feeding the well. Because those rocks, if you look at a slope of those rocks, that easily could be headed towards there. But anyway, so we don't have Lee yet. We could do minutes. Did you have issues with the minutes still?
Actually, Dick, frankly, I didn't have time to review them, but I trust if you and Lee were good with them, I'm good with them.
Well, then we better wait for Lee
Yeah,
to
why
see
don't
what
we
he
wait for Lee?
thinks about it. How about, well, we could look at Colleen's timesheet
That's fine.
that for the 17th. She's got 70 hours, which is normal for the 2 weeks. Are you okay with that, Bill?
Yes, that's fine.
Colleen, I am too, so that's approved.
Okay.
The next is the accounts payable to the treasurer. For this period, it's $2,430. Of that, 960 is Board of Health permits, wells, plumbing, installer, haulers, etc. And then licenses, Board of Health licenses is 1,470. So totaling 2,430. Are you okay with that, Bill?
That's fine, Dick.
Colleen, I am too.
Okay.
So that's approved. The next one, when you see Lee show up, let me know, okay? So
Okay.
the
Yep.
next one is a purchasing request, and that is for paper make pens. These are all to quill for $9.49. Black toner for $56.47. For packing tape, $12.99. 10 by 13 envelope, $42.39, totaling $121.34. Are we okay with that, Bill?
Yes.
I am too, Colleen, so that's
Okay.
approved.
Yep.
Let's see where we're going into now that it is interesting. We're going to go into the food service. Actually, they're yearly ones for the mobile food services, and they're almost all for charter days. So, Bill, and almost everybody says that they're going to be using the sanitary facilities of some of them have hand washing facilities on their truck. I didn't see anybody that's got toilet facilities. And how do you want to
question, Dick. Here's the
proceed?
question. Who's the head of Charter Day? Is Crystal head of Charter Day?
No, Crystal's not. She's not a selectman anymore.
No, but she could still be head of Charter Day,
No,
even though
she's
she's
not,
not
though.
a selectman.
No, the person that's in charge of Charter Day is that's Randy Galvin. And that's who I talked to today.
Can he attend tonight's meeting via Zoom? Is it possible?
He can't right now, but he's not. But he's going back to his group on Thursday night. He said to me that they would in fact have the toilets open.
Okay.
But he's one person.
There's Lee now.
Yep.
Okay, Lee, how are you?
Okay, everybody.
Lee, the
Hey, Lee.
discussion that we're into right now is that I talked to Crystal Dufresne. Actually, she called me up and said, I just want you to know that I talked to the Charter Day Commission people, and they informed me that they're not going to open the toilets for Charter Day. That they're going to try to arrange to just have Santa cans around And then and she said, well, what are people going to do to wash their hands? And they said, well, then we'll have some hand washing facilities there too. So anyways, she wanted me to know, because after knowing what kind of grief she went through the last time that it was running, she said, I know it's a problem. And she said, I don't want my kids going to any old Santa cans anyways. She says, but she said, I just wanted you to know that this is happening, and I informed the the chairman that the Board of Health probably was not going to be very happy with that. So I talked to him, and he said that he was going to talk to his committee, which is going to meet on Thursday night. But the issue that before you got on that I was talking about is almost all of these food servers, the mobile food servers, all make reference to the facilities at the Dupring site. So if that's the case, then lots of these food servers don't have the facilities to support the sanitary facilities to support their food service operations. So I don't know whether we want to assume that what Randy told me their committee was going to do is have the toilet, assume they're going to come through and approve these permits, or do we hold the permits back? It's a problem because we don't meet for 2 weeks.
Well,
So, my
Go ahead,
question
Lee.
is, who decided and why did they decide to not allow use of that facility?
Crystal told me that they just did, and this Randy told me that they just didn't want to be involved with cleaning the toilet.
Good reason.
Well,
That
okay. I mean, at face value, it's purely unacceptable. It
That's
just
right.
can't
That is
happen.
not a good reason. That's exactly right.
that's what I told them.
Just
I said,
because,
I'm go ahead.
no, just because somebody doesn't want to go get their hands dirty, does not mean that.
Dick, what's
we
it going to
should
cost them?
be
$100 to clean the toilets? We'll find them
I don't know,
$100 to clean the toilets.
My feeling that it would be that we handle, it's going to be such a big problem that I can't believe that they're not going to, since it's only because they don't want to clean the toilets. And
That's
they told me that
absurd.
they'll open them, that it's not a technical problem, it's an operational issue, and that they will in fact do this. If that's the case, approving these permits, and since they're going to all have to go to Lynn anyways, for Lynn to be, telling the people or inspecting them after Thursday when she knows the answer. Because this Randy told me he would call me on Friday. So my feeling is we have to approve these permits. And then we make sure that committee does their part, as you say, Bill, that if they have to take some of their profits and spend a couple $100 to clean the toilets, that's what they have to do. But
Dick, like you say, though, maybe they've got a frozen water line. Maybe they got a plumbing problem they're trying to cover up.
well,
Might
they didn't say no, because Crystal said that she told them the toilets are available. In fact, she told me that her husband has been out flushing the wells out there because they haven't been used for a couple of years. So he's flushing them and making sure that they pass.
good,
They're due to
okay.
be tested next week, I think Crystal told me.
Yeah, Dick, I would, why don't we approve the permit subject to them having operational toilets? We can't let them have charter day without toilets. That's absurd. That's ridiculous.
But how do
Is that what your
how do we
thought is,
confirm
Lee,
that?
too?
Oh,
I didn't hear you,
absolutely.
Lee. Okay, so when we get to that,
Yes, but how do we? whoever.
I'm not hearing you, Lee. Am I the only one that's not
No,
hearing
you
Lee?
can't
No,
hear.
no, no.
No.
Dick, when Lynn
can't
goes
hear.
out there to inspect, she better have Lynn make sure that the toilets are operational.
Lynn's on. Lynn's on.
Yeah, well, it's Lynn's time anyway, so why don't we talk to Lynn?
Hi, Lynn.
Okay,
Hi.
yeah,
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lynn, so
hello there.
before you jump in with your stuff, I don't know if you just heard that the Crystal Dufresne told me today that the Charter Day Committee was not planning to have the toilets operational. And when I say toilets, I assume that's toilets and hand washing available at Dufresne for Charter Day, which then causes all sorts of trouble. She didn't tell me whether they were going to have water available too, but for the food trucks. But what we're just saying now is that I talked to the chairman of that committee, who said he would talk to his committee on Thursday and tell them this is a big time problem capable of shutting down the operation. And they would in fact have the toilets operational. We don't know that until they vote on it, but our feeling that the three of us are saying, let's assume they come through, that it's such a big problem if they don't, and approve these permits subject to having the toilets work. And you get a chance to look at their carts and do the stuff, and by the time you get there, we'll know whether this is a go. And if it's not, it's a big problem. The whole Charter Day thing gets shut down, and that's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen.
Okay, so we'll have well in advance, like, knowledge that that's going to happen, or?
Yeah, by Friday we should know.
Okay, just want to make sure. Yeah, because it's one thing with the toilets, but hand washing is going to be the issue.
Yeah, well, they said, oh, we'll put some portable hand washing things in there. So, okay, so let you have your time then. What do you have for us tonight?
And not much. I just wanted to let you know, because I know I was asked to just to go check out the smoker on Lyman Street, which I did yesterday after work. It looks fine to me. I have to admit, I've never inspected a smoker like that, so I did have to do a little bit of research prior to going. But it looks like everything was working and functioning properly. They actually had it running by the time I got there, and they were cooking food and stuff. So it looks fine to me, and it got the temperature. And my biggest concern is where they were going to store the meat, because it sounds like they're doing pork, I think sausage and chicken, while that thing heats up, because it takes a while for it to heat up to get the temperature. But she's got coolers and everything else. It seems like they know what they're doing, and they're going to have a hand washing station as well. Because from my understanding, that was an issue prior to me going there. How they're going to wash your hands, especially if they end up at Dickinson's or something.
Yeah, our concern was that not only hand washing, that they didn't have any base, a mobile base,
that's right,
that they were going to, that they didn't have any toilets. That it was like they're gonna roll up with this smoker, and if someone has to go to the bathroom, whether they're going to the back of a pole or something, I don't know what they're going to do, but they didn't have a plan, and they were supposed to come back to us with a plan saying, oh yeah, we're going to go to Dickinson, and Dickinson's, that's the only place we're going to be, and they're letting everybody use their toilet. But they didn't have that for a plan.
Okay. I think at this point she has a base of operations. She showed it to me yesterday, I believe. And I think she said she was going to email it to Colleen. I'm not sure if she did.
I think I
go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, what happened, Lynn, is they did mail something.
Yep.
But it's not a contract. It's just I have it someplace, but it's just a thing saying we're a place, that whoever, I think it was tied into to the whole
Yeah, the culinary school, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they said,
Mhm.
yeah, we're here, we have it, we rent it out, but they don't they say that they rent it out to these people. They just said we rent it out. So it's definitely
Okay.
not a contract.
So Diana is
Yes.
on now. I don't know if she
Yeah,
can
I'm
answer.
here. Yes, I'm here.
But we have to be careful if we're going to take stuff way out of order here. And I'm just doing, if this is Lynn's time, then
Mhm.
Lynn can report on what she saw. But let's wait until we get to the licenses. Otherwise, because we've got appointments, we've got an appointment
Hmm.
at 7:15 that we're late. I've got Neil is supposed to be here. I don't see Neil. I think he's probably not coming because I said that we weren't going to review his design because of until I know where that rock is, because I expect that the SAS is going to be sitting right on the rock and then with a good chance of polluting the well. So without knowing the south end of his proposal, we can't go any. I can't review it. So that Neil won't be dealt with tonight. We're at 7:20. We can discuss Red Fire Farm. That's on the next thing on our agenda. And what I did a review that I asked Colleen to send out to people for discussion. I can't send it out with the open meeting law regulations, but when I went through it, I had 23 different issues with the design that were questions, but not to be discussed here. The ones that I was concerned with is having a detailed use of the building. What is really, really going to be done in there? The types of meals, the types of cooking, that in the past I've had issues with a lack of really definition of what people are going to do in that operation. And when I hear that, Alan Weiss had some problems when I was dealing with Alan and his relationship is terminated with Red Fire, but not having absolutely nailed down use, saying this is what it's going to be now, here's what it's going to be in the future, here are the limits that we're going to have if we're going to be putting seats outside in the nice weather, what kind of things are going to be sold there, that how we find out whether they, in fact, a conversation that I had with Colleen to give us an idea that the words that were used to describe this operation could fit an operation like Sapowski's on 202, and it could fit the definition of the operation that's at Randall's in Ludlow. And there are huge, huge differences in scopes of operation. And that has to be defined. It has to be in writing. It has to be in a spot that a year from now, these owners or future owners can't come in and say, yeah, that's what we said. We said this, and it's got to be locked in that we've got deed restrictions that are required. It's a common system with a house that has to be locked in. People have to know it's locked in. The septic system isn't even and the piping isn't even on the property. The property lines are on one side and the system's on another. So it's not there. Whether we're going to be talking about requiring nitrogen reduction systems, we should talk about that. The problems that we're seeing with the wine house and zoning, that unless we're ready to be in that kind of situation again, how do we avoid it? And my final thing is, what's more important is that all of us together, we got Ray here trying to get some stuff done, get us to make some commitments so she can get her project moving forward, that we owe it to the people involved to all have a common view of what the path forward is. How do we get this thing resolved? And everybody walks away and said, okay, here's our checklist. We'll get it done, and not go from meeting to meeting and everybody changes their minds, or especially from your standpoint, Ray. I'm looking at you and saying, if I were in your shoes, I'd be saying, come on, Board of Health, I'll do anything you want, but just we have to know what it is. So we can't get there from here, and you don't deserve that from us. You deserve something that you can comply with.
Mhm.
Whether you agree
You know,
with
Dick-
complying with it or not, that's a different thing. But at least you deserve to know what it is that we're all up against. So,
Yes, yeah.
You
so
know,
Lee
Dick,
and Bill, go ahead.
No, I had a comment. I appreciate the specific design criterion that was shown on the sketches. But like Dick says, that is not very amenable to future build out. You want to design this for a future build out scenario so that you don't have to start changing system components every couple of years and get
Mhm.
yourself into trouble. So I'm guessing, Chris, now your company, you're doing the septic design, your outfit?
Yes, Chris Chamberlain, civil engineer with Berkshire Design, sort of took the baton from Alan.
Okay.
And I do just want to back up a little bit. And if there was any confusion about what we submitted, I'd apologize for that. You know, this was not presented as a design to
Well,
be
yeah,
reviewed as
I
a final
suspect it's
design.
just a
Yeah,
working schematic. I
Yeah.
Yeah,
realize
and
that.
and
Preliminary.
really critically, what it was a letter describing sort of our basic information and several fundamental questions that we'd like to clarify with you, as well as bring up some of these other issues that you're thinking about, so we can go back and prepare as much of that specific information
Right,
as
okay, yeah,
necessary.
yeah. Let me finish our
Yeah,
comments.
great.
I'm sure Dick's going to bring up the fact that there's no profile and no cross section. And when I saw no profile and no cross section, I said, clearly this is a schematic design development sketch. There's no doubt about that.
That's right.
Obviously, there is no well. We got to work the well into the situation.
Mhm.
Again, I would strongly recommend that you design the system for full potential build out, what Ryan might opt to go in the next several years, and don't corner yourself into a fixed usage of 5 years out. So design it for future build out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Now, just on the administrative point of view, Dick, I filed a conflict of interest notification with Kathy Reagan about 3 months ago on this case, because my firm, we do some light structural design work for Red Fire, and in accordance with state law, we're fine on that on the Board of Health end. And I did the same on conservation. So
Okay.
I have no issue
You wear many hats.
participating on this particular case.
Mhm.
Okay. But anyway, as far as what you've done, you've clearly opted to put the SAS as far as practicable from the wetland and to the north. And I guess there's some issue with the APR usage, which I think Alan and many and we all kind of looked into. So we'll have to talk about that.
Yep.
Dick, of course, the building itself, as you know, is right on the property line. But again, the APR property, that's the APR property line, is it not, Chris?
Yeah, I just want to
Yes.
clarify that. And
Okay.
and again, schematic plan, so we certainly did not label absolutely every detail like we would for the
Okay.
final design. There's a line that appears to be a property line if you're looking quickly, but this is all a single property that's 40 some or 50 acres. Ray can correct me on that, which has a
41.5.
small, Yeah, which has a small exclusion area from the APR, which is the line that I think Dick is referring to. The system is unambiguously proposed on the same tax lot as the facilities.
Okay, and again, Dick, we'll have to determine whether or not a registered land surveyor might be required to actually locate this SAS to make sure it
Yeah.
is where it is purported to be.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I think you've done a good job as a first step to get this moving. I know the foundation is kind of in the ground now, and that makes our job on conservation a heck of a lot easier. So when we tape off from what we purport to be the wetland line to the edge of the building, it's very definitive what the building is because it's in the ground now.
Yeah.
So
Once
we
again,
appreciate working with you on
the
this.
buildings in the ground without permits from us, it's not up to me to do other than surmising, but it certainly wouldn't, if the building inspector were here right now, if he said they don't have a permit for that either, it wouldn't surprise me.
No, we certainly
but-
have a permit. Yeah, we did get a shell and foundation permit, which does not lead to a C of O. So
Yeah,
we're
I think
completely clear on that.
Damian Cody actually issued that as one of his last acts as building
Yes.
inspector
Okay.
several months ago.
So the issue that we definitely have here
Mhm.
is that the number one issue that stops me from being able to start a design review, another issue that I didn't put down here though, is how we're going to proceed with the design review. And that part of that is understanding where we're going from this next step.
Mhm.
But is who is going to tell us what is going on? We have to understand the
Mhm.
house and how many potential bedrooms, not how many are actually there, how
Right.
many potential bedrooms are there.
Mhm.
We have to understand what this business is going to be doing, but
Okay.
in detail, what it's going to
Okay.
be doing. Not saying, oh, it's going to be a little kitchen to cook some stuff. We have to
Mhm.
understand what kind of stuff that's going to be cooked, what's going to be sold, what is it, is it a restaurant kind of thing associated with a a, a food growing operation? Is it, we don't know what it is, but somebody's got to say this is exactly what it is. And
Okay.
without
All
a
right.
doubt, we get in trouble with this operation. If you look at the composting, that we had all sorts of trouble. We're getting in trouble again with the composting, but the last time that supposedly Waste Management was going to do everything except roll the compost piles over, and I guaranteed that would happen. And we had the neighborhood up in arms. We had vermin all over the place. Terrible stuff, and not paying attention to detail and following the agreement. So the agreements have to be in writing,
Okay.
and they have to be
I get it.
measurable
Okay.
and say, this is what this building's going to be. And it's not going to be someone says, well, this is kind of what it was. It's not. It's going to be, this is what it's going to be. This is how many seats. There aren't going to be outside seats, or there are going to be outside seats. And if you read about in the paper what happened at Winehouse, it's close to the same kind of thing, that all of a sudden we're going to sell wine that's made on the property and find out there may or may not be wine made on the property. The grapes aren't growing on the property, and we got bands instead of grapes, and no toilets, and troubles and zoning violations. But anyway, so that part, from my standpoint, it sounds like when we go through it, if we get that locked in, maybe we can do our standard way of design review.
Right.
So just on a side, that I said I'm not gonna be doing this design review tonight. I was when we look at the innovative systems, they require that the reserve area be a standard system.
Right.
So it has to be. I also was told by Alan that the state was, whether it's true or not, I have no idea. But Alan said the state was pushing and not being happy about the reserve area. Well, our regulations,
Nonsense. Yeah.
we follow what the state says. That says if trenches can be used, they will be used.
Mhm.
So the bed won't go there. But it turns out once you build the trenches and you put the reserves in between, then the whole issue with the state and whether they're allowing reserves or not doesn't matter, because the trenches, the primary system's footprint occupies where the reserve's going, and we're all set. That just goes away.
That's right.
And but you should know, for instance, that and it's kind of the design review will happen, but if you look at what the state is now saying about their views on ADUs, saying that an ADU, even if it's a separate building, is part of the same. They don't call it a property, but they're grouping things that says if you put an ADU, then you can no longer look at a separate building as on the property as a separate building with its own system. It becomes now part of the whole system increasing, which means once you do that, then this tank on the house requires a 2-compartment tank, not a 1-compartment. And when I looked at it, I said, if I were doing it, the cheapest way to do it is to stick a 1,000-gallon tank after the 1,500 instead of replacing the whole 1,500, and then you get your 2-compartment tank for a lot cheaper than ripping out the old one. But anyway, that's part of the design review. So Bill, you've talked about the land not being on the same spot. That's good. If we're talking about getting the building locked in, getting the house drawing so we understand potential bedrooms.
Mhm.
We actually, as I'm looking at nitrogen loading, my feeling right now, Lee and Bill, is when you got a farm that's going to be loaded, they're going to put fertilizer all over this farm.
Yeah, forget about the
looking
nitrogen
at the septic system and trying to cut down on nitrogen loading when you got 50 acres of nitrogen throwing on the ground doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right. Forget about that.
Now we will, when we do present a design, we're certainly, it's a nitrogen sensitive area by definition, both because you've got wells and septic systems in the neighborhood and because we're going to be in the IWPA for the public water supply. So we're going to do the calculation, but when we've got 50 acres in the denominator, that's obviously going to show that we're in compliance with Title V on that. But yeah, I agree. It's, we're bailing out with a teaspoon when it's raining buckets.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So,
That's right.
so that one, if it were someplace else, then, if you were on New Ludlow Road where the fourplexes are, they're going to be, they're a repair, but I think they're going to be nitrogen. They have the little bitty spots and we're going to be pushing them, but this one doesn't make sense at all to me. So, Lee, are you thinking the same thing?
Yes, I agree 100% with the concern of being crystal clear on this project all the way through, the point that I think the owners need to know that what is presented is going to be the limitation for the future, as you pointed out, Dick, so that there's not going to be any, it's just this or just that. This has to be one and done 100% from the get-go, because historically there's been some difficulties in some procedural flexibility, which I don't think we can we can allow has to be tight and done correctly. And again, your point of seating, what's being cooked, how many people, water supply, public water separation, all these things are very important to be clarified at this point in time.
Which goes back to what Bill was talking about, is looking at what you think is going to happen in the future. That make sure we look for it now, because it looks like the bite that we're going to take out of the state regulated land. We might as well take the bite now and get it where we want it to be, and make it so the business can grow the way it wants to be.
Well, that's right. It might turn into Atkins #2, Dick. Something like it. You never know. You never know.
That would be terrific.
Yeah.
You know, it would be a great addition to that section of the town.
Well, I'm not in favor of making it any bigger than we need to make it. It's very important that we preserve the farmland for the farmland use, okay? So we're going to make it as compact as we can possibly figure out how to achieve.
Right, we will record that. That will be documented. And when the time comes that you say, gee, I need this to grow my business, it's going to come back, and it's going to be in writing, and you're going to own it. And that we haven't had the greatest of experiences with people just being locked in. As soon as someone says, I want it as small as I can, it's the same exact thing, is not planning on what the business is right now, and saying, oh, the state we gave up all the rights to our land, and we're squeezed. Well, that's your choice, and this will be your choice too. But,
well, there's nothing that says that we can't go back to the state again and get permission if that becomes the situation in the future. The situation right now is that we have zero facility, we have porta potties. This is going to be a major improvement over that.
That's true. But it's going to be, this is going to be in writing that before you got in, this is going to be locked in. It's going to be memorialized, and it's going to be something that if we go to court, it's going to be your document, and that you're going to be wherever you choose to lock yourself into. Not that we lock you into. Whatever box you put yourself in, you will have done it, and we are going to hold you in it. And just be aware, it's your choice. We're not telling you what to do, but we're just telling you when you do it, you're going to stay there.
Okay, well, I think,
So-
you know, we're trying to kind of strike the right balance between sort of, you know, affordable to do and, you know, the right size. And I'm sure,
Yeah.
you know, if there's pressure to grow, we should.
So one of the,
you know,
Ray, one of the things that I would, on my list then, if we're looking at path forward, because it sounds like that the issues that we've got so far, we don't have the well. That part isn't on my list, but Bill said is working on it. You'll have to go through since this is going to be a public water supply,
right.
you have to go through the zone 1 and figure
Right. We actually,
whatever it is.
yeah,
So
I'm sorry. We didn't submit that material because we thought it had to go to Conservation Commission first before it came to you.
Right, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. So it just has to be in before we're done. So we've gone
So,
through
and
the
just
nitrogen.
as an update, I can just let you know, right now we have conditional approval to construct the well from DEP, and permission for the pump test. We're trying to satisfy the conditions of those, so we'll certainly have a locked in proposed zone 1 when we do submit a design.
Chris, what's your design flow rate going to be, sir?
We are gonna try to test and approve for 2,000 gallons per day, under the idea that we always, we want to try to permit for the maximum zone 1, so we wouldn't ever have to go back or risk hitting that
Okay, all right,
ceiling.
so
on
that
our
you're
report.
designing for future build out. And I think there's a logarithmic function for your zone 1 setback radii.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
How many feet is that going to be?
That's 146 feet.
Okay, good.
one of the
budgeted.
things before we go beyond that, I know there's a temptation with that soil out there to be putting in a gravel packed well or a shallow well. We won't, as a board, we're not gonna let that,
Oh, no,
a
it's a
shallow
deep well with
aquifer.
No,
the
yeah,
whatever,
deep bedrock well.
sealed joints and all that. We,
Okay,
Good,
okay,
good.
so that we cross that, from my standpoint, at least get a preliminary statement from the building inspector that this will comply with his zoning, that he's not gonna end up taking you to court after this thing gets done. Let's make sure that you've touched bases. So we're all together and pulling together, because once we get
yeah,
beyond this
I've been
point,
in touch with Tom Quinlan. I mean, he, was wondering what was going on. I guess Damien hadn't really had a chance to fill him in, so I sort of explained to him the situation. And I think we knew from the beginning. I mean, I know this has sort of been a backwards project, but given the fact that we don't want to lose this grant money, I think we all knew that there'd be sort of a simultaneous situation of trying to go ahead with the shell and while we get the approvals. So I think I'll keep in touch with him. I gave him all the documents about what we've been working on. So
looks like, so I can summarize for us and we can move on with our business.
mhm.
So that the issue will end up being that we'll be looking for is the detailed use of the new structure. The drawing, letting us see the drawings of the house.
Mhm.
It looks like then a statement from, you're dealing with the well,
Mhm.
a statement from the building inspector that this is a go ahead. I'm guessing he's gonna wanna know the detailed use of the building too. So that what you're looking for to give us should be to him, and that should get that problem done.
Yeah.
And after that, my thinking is reasonably straightforward, that we could do our normal design review for this one. I think I can handle this one. We haven't decided on a fee.
Mhm.
Lee and Bill, what are your thinking? I'm thinking it can't be less than pool system fees, but for a house and the building on the business. But I could see a fair number of inspections on this one.
Well, if we have a separate business and a separate house, you got the well, you got the SAS. So there's 1, 2. You might be looking at 6 anyway.
Mhm.
We don't have to make that determination right now. If it went as high as that, you're talking about inspections, Lee?
Yes, it sounds, I know it's a rush and there's different permitting and different time frames to meet, but there could be a lot of repeat visits on this due to the nature of the build.
Okay, then
Of
that
course,
case,
we can't know that.
let us come back. We're gonna have to make that decision later. I'm certainly, it's gonna be at least $400,
Mhm.
but maybe that we go through and try to make it so we cover the inspections. We can talk it through. Once we get a feeling for what the design is, let's look it through and say, this is how many inspections we think we're gonna make, and
Mhm.
have the permit carry the inspections. it's not gonna be $10,000,
Thank
but
you.
it's not gonna be $200. So,
Right.
so,
Um,
so if that's okay, is my summary, does it look like that's a fair way to go? And let you, Ray, do you think you can move forward with
Well,
what we
Yes.
said?
if I could
I
jump
do have a
in,
couple. Mhm.
I think what would be really helpful is to get some feedback on the information that we provided in our May 1st letter. And it's because I hear you that we certainly want to come back with exactly the specific information that you want. So I'd love to clarify, in addition to what we've already submitted, what questions we should be answering, because we've got, square footages of different areas and seating numbers inside and outside and employee counts in that. And then we also had that series of questions that I think are fundamental to our design that we'd really like to get some feedback on so that we don't have to do this as a back and forth.
Yeah, Dick, can you share your review, your preliminary review with these folks?
They have it.
They do have
Yeah,
that.
no, we have that. I'm talking about the letter that we submitted that had a series of, that had the design
We have a bunch
flow
of questions.
developed, and then a series of questions that we were hoping for answers for.
Yeah.
What we would need from you is the specifics of saying, what are the types of foods you're doing? What are the types of food preparation? To give us some idea, the volumes of food that we don't have a sense, for instance, if you were preparing foods that would go into, I don't want to call it a deli kind of operation, but certainly under your description, that if you could use the model. I don't know if you guys have gone into Randall's in Ludlow, but you ought to look at that and say, how far are we away from that? Are we that, or are we something that more? And take a look at the opposite extreme, which would be Sapowski's, and say, oh, they make some pies in there. They've got an oven in there, and they're doing a minor amount of things. There's no particular, other than frozen potentially hazardous food, that there's some stuff there to give us a scope of what this operation is, which then allows us to understand, is this a big kitchen? Is there going to be dishwashing that's associated with this? Is there, but so that's the part that we don't know. We can't give you your answers without you're telling us what you're planning on doing.
Right, but I guess what I'm getting at is that we've already provided the square footage of the kitchen bakery and described it as a food service count. I'm reading from the letter that we submitted. A food service counter for sandwiches, salads, coffee, and similar prepared meals integrated with the kitchen bakery. Tables and seating for up to 20 seasonally are planned for food service on the porch or within the main market space. I'm hearing that we can get a little bit more specific on exactly which types of food there are. But I guess, the sort of the square footage breakdown we provided and some of those descriptions, again, we want to give you everything that we can, but I just want to make sure that I'm clear on what, in addition to this letter that we want to.
Let's go a different way. Let's take that same description and go to Big Y in South Hadley. Now, when I walk into Big Y in South Hadley, they have about 20 seats, and you could say they're making some sandwiches, and it fits very nicely with what you said. But if you look at the operation, and you say, oh my God, that's a giant operation that they can do all sorts of things besides doing what you just said. As I look at it, say, oh, he just made me a sandwich. Yeah, but there's a guy that walked away with a grocery cart full of prepared food that was also made there.
Dick, that's what I'm saying. This is a fluid situation. It's going to change over time. That's why look at different parameters, look at the worst case build out and assume that's going to happen at some point. We don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into a fixed usage at this point in time.
Yeah,
So
you can have a layout, then give us the layout of the building, then we're gonna tell you, you are proposing a food service operation. We
Mhm.
wanna see the food service operation, not your words. We wanna lay it out the way you would normally
Okay.
apply
We
for
do
a
have a
food
layout
service
So was our-
worked
operation.
out,
Right. So
Did you
so I
our
guess
plan?
and did you
our
have a
plan in
chance
more
to?
detail? Okay.
Yeah, so we've provided the square footages of these areas and the floor plan as part of the letter. So I'm curious that this is just I'm really trying to dial down to exactly
I
what
guess
else, because
I'll
I'm
have to look. I will look. I didn't see the freezers
Yeah, we
specified.
have
I
the,
didn't see
our-
the sinks laid out. I didn't see to get a scope. And maybe it's me maybe not looking at it well enough.
we
If it's
gotta
all
look
there,
at,
then you're all set.
yeah,
yeah,
you
we
gotta
have a
look
full
at,
layout. Yeah.
and you
We
gotta
have
look at the
all,
Title
everything
V design
identified, all the
criterion.
equipment.
right.
The
And
sink,
so
sink
again,
locations.
that's one of the things that we were trying to clarify here, because I presented, sort of if we calculate the supermarket use at 97 gallons per square foot, what that leads to. We added on the sort of fast food restaurants type GPD per seat flows,
Yeah.
but suggested not applying the minimum flow out of Title V. And so that's specifically what we were hoping to get feedback on, so that we can make sure that we're moving this in the right direction.
Right, because if your total area is A, over time, the sub-allocation, A1, A2, and A3, which all sum up to A2, A1, and A3 are going to vary over time. And you got to look at the worst case, the most aggressive scenario going forward as to that allocation and how it affects the Title V flow allocations. That's what you got to look at.
Right.
I guess we thought that's kind of what we were doing, because in fact, they don't really want to do, this is sort of what we thought would be a pretty
Yeah, and
healthy kind of future
And I'll
look.
look at it again. I didn't do a good job of looking at it. I will look at it, and I should be able to look and say, does this look like, our little pizza place, or does it? We'll just look and say, yep, there's the Bay Marie that they're going to use, and I can see that it looks like they're going to make, 100 sandwiches
Yeah.
a day there, and that's right. This is not a takeout operation. But if again, as
Yeah,
long
and
as that's
so-
what it shows.
Yeah, and so the way it's presented is the entire market space inclusive of that kitchen is calculated with the Title V supermarket flows, and then on top of that, we've added the restaurant flows per seat for the 20 seats that they're planning seasonally there, and then separately calculated based on an employee head count, the half of the building that's more for the working farm area. And so, if that approach is not sufficient, then that's something that we were hoping to get feedback on.
Okay.
Just because some of these questions is just, I just want to be sure that actually the letter was reviewed and some of those specific flows were considered. And if there's something lacking there, we definitely want to add
Right,
it. But
right. Now, Dick, what's the trigger for public toilets? Is it 25 for the trigger? That
We're
is
gonna
seat.
have to look at.
I think there's a seat
Yeah.
criterion for public toilets.
Right.
And I
Well,
think-
we're definitely going to be going for public toilets.
You are,
once
okay.
we
you
get the
are.
public water supply, with the public water
Okay,
supply. And that's
okay,
that's
okay.
going to be a
I have
baseline.
to
We
admit,
may
if
be doing
you
it in stages, but-
you submitted a document that's got all the sinks, the floor washing things, all the thing that's done where the 3 compartment sinks are, where the freezers
Yeah,
are.
that's all
the
there.
freezer- And if
It's all
that's
there.
all there, then I've got to look at it
Okay.
better. I haven't done a good job of that.
Okay.
Okay.
So if
I'm
you've
glad-
got that
I'm glad
already,
you've included that. That's
Right.
good.
In fact,
Thank
we
you.
then had
set.
we
Yeah.
actually had a related question about the grease interceptor on that we were hoping to discuss as well. So,
I think you should plan if you're making an operation that's generating, if it's a restaurant kind of thing, then that's what you would be required to have. So
oh,
Yeah,
yes,
so-
no,
so
I
again-
understand that, but okay. Chris,
Yeah,
go ahead.
so again, one of our specific questions was in the drawings that we showed and in the letter, we mentioned the grease trap. The plumber has come back to us and let us know that because of the plumbing code, they either will need to provide a grease interceptor inside the building, unless we can provide our exterior grease trap 3 feet off the building, which conflicts with your local bylaw and debatably Title V. And so that was one question: is would it be acceptable to locate that grease trap within 3 feet of the building? If the answer is no, that's fine, but we'll have to make differences.
Actually, I should offer a little clarification. It has to be 25 feet from the furthest
Right.
fixture. And so
That's right. And the reason is, Chris, you don't want the grease to congeal before it hits the grease trap.
Oh,
Right.
It's all about the
totally
congealing
understand.
of
Yeah.
And it
the
doesn't
So the
have to
question
be
is,
as close
we-
as 3, but it would want to be
Right.
closer than
Actually,
10, because it also needs to vent back to the building.
That's right.
We need
That's
to bring
right.
a
Good
vent pipe
plumbing
back.
practice. Good plumbing practice is you install a PDI under the sink trap at the sink
Yeah.
or after the
Okay,
dish. You got to
I'm
bypass
gonna
the
cut us
dishwasher.
off now.
We're doing that.
And you also include a grease trap outside. Use 2 grease
Yes.
traps in series. That's the
That's
proper way to do
exactly
it.
what we're doing. Yeah,
Good,
that's exactly what
good.
we're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
So what
But
we've
the
got,
question
what-
was that your septic bylaw says it says
To be 10
grease
feet.
traps,
That's right.
yeah,
That's
have to be
right. That's
10
right.
feet.
That's
So
right.
we wanted to find out
You see,
which
Dick,
way.
you want the grease to be not solidified by the time it hits the grease trap.
Exactly.
Because then you're going to end up gunking up the lines. That's
Right.
what happens.
And so the question is, the plumber is requesting that the
Closer.
external grease trap be 3 feet off the building, which conflicts with the standard. And so the question is, would that be approvable, or would we be held to the 10-foot offset?
No, we can grant that variance, Dick,
We can
internally if
grant
you
that.
wish.
Great.
We can grant
All right, good. So that ends.
I
Okay.
will, as part of the task force, you guys need me and Bill and Lee to take a look at that layout. Make sure that we're going to say, that's great, or we're gonna say, we want you to do something different. We owe you that.
And very, very importantly, there are 6 questions in the letter that we're looking for answers to.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
I did have one more question about the house. So, right now the house has not been lived in for quite a few years, and, it's going to be a complete redo if and when we do it. It may not even not be used as a house, but more maybe something, but, we don't really have plans, but it's very small, right? It's a 900 square foot footprint. So currently, I think it was in the record as a 2-bedroom house. We were assuming that it would never go over being a 3-bedroom house plus a kitchen, which is already the minimum to which we have to design anyway. But do you need some kind of, and again, given the fast track on this, I'm not sure I have the bandwidth to do up a house plan in the middle of trying to do this market. So just wondering, is there some way we could just say under no circumstance would it go over the 3-bedroom, 1 kitchen limit?
If you did that and said, we're not gonna go, once again, that there's an agreement that says the house isn't gonna be expanded, it's gonna be this many square feet.
Mm-hmm.
There's not gonna be a subsequent a building permit to say, you know what, we really wanted to make it bigger, we wanted to make it taller, we wanted to do this, and it didn't make sense to spend this much money on that little house, we should double the size of it. Once again, if that's what you're sending to us, saying that's what it is, and that you say and it's reasonable to assume it's gonna fit Granby's regulations, a 3-bedroom house with the extra 110, so you design it for 440 and say that's what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there won't be any changes to the footprint Bill and Lee, that's certainly something that is part of my design review. I wouldn't be challenging that.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
One point
Yeah,
of interest, which is one point of interest on this. We have a brand new Google Earth image of this site dated April. It was done a month ago, and it's
Wow.
absolutely spectacular of this site. So if you want to get on Google Earth and get a bird's eye view of this facility, it's right there. You can see everything. It's beautiful.
Nice.
Well, by the end of this week, I'm not going to be around for a couple days, so it's probably not going to be until next Monday that I get my part.
Okay,
Okay, folks. Well, thank you for coming in. Good to
okay,
see
thanks.
everybody.
Okay.
Well, good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Ryan.
So if we go back to I did talk to Jim Trumke, yesterday.
Well, I saw him at the polls yesterday.
Yeah. And
I'm here. I'm
okay.
here, gentlemen. I'm here.
Oh, hi, Jim.
So we'll talk, what Jim offered is to come in and talk to us. I told him that Neil didn't have the credentials at this point to speak for him. And so I asked Jim if he would come in, and he explained to me that the tank was on order and he was going to give us what he thought was the schedule. And he said he would show up here just to memorialize what he told me. Jim, you want
I do.
to take
I
it?
do. So I've got an update. My contractor told me the tank is coming in and it's going to be installed on Wednesday of next week.
Wonderful.
So
Now, are you?
I guess. Well, let me, Dick, for a minute. Let me just.
What?
I apologize for not communicating. I thought I had others doing it for me, but that was my fault. So the process, with Neil and my contractor that's doing the installation, I have been communicating with them, but not with you folks. So my apologies. So anyway, I got your letter, assuming that they were communicating with you, but I ran into Mr. Bombardier yesterday and Mr. Shaheen as well, and told you that I was informed that it was going in June, and then I got a call today that the tank is being delivered and will be installed on the start of the installation will be next Wednesday. So
Which,
great.
Jim, which tank is this? The 2000?
yes, yep.
All right, thank you.
Well, that's
Don't
great.
ask me any more.
Jim,
Don't ask me any more technical
Well,
questions
this will
because
be
I
an
don't have
easy.
them.
Yeah, it's an easy one, Jim, because this one's also in your control. The guys that are installing the tanks have excavators and bulldozers and
Oh, yeah.
dump trucks.
Yeah.
The guys that make it run are plumbers and pipers, and
Correct.
that part, having the tank in the ground not taking anything, doesn't help. So to get it hooked up, what is your plan?
Yeah, that's still probably by the end of the month.
Okay.
Complete. I
Then
got a little
you're-
pull with some of my subs.
So is that what we wanted to hear, Bill and Lee?
I'm pleased.
Yes, on my part, yeah.
Yeah, I am too. It definitely, it doesn't say it goes on, it can't go on forever, but it
No.
certainly gets you into a spot that you have got
Well.
sewage disposal, and now you're not throwing stuff out onto the grapes, and you're not making the neighbors be upset, which that's not.
Yeah, that's not going to fix them. That's not going to fix
Well,
them.
Well, that
Good.
part, it stops the sewage from being done in a abnormal way. So then you still have to pay to pump it to get it out, but at least
Yep.
it's in the ground and it's
Understood.
flushing and it's inside your building.
Yep. Understood.
So that's great. That is what we were trying to get it
Okay.
done. And then, thank you for bringing that news to us, Jim.
and I'll keep you updated as well. Obviously, we're going to be calling for inspections and so forth in the next week.
Okay,
Can
Thank
I
you very
clarify
much.
something? Thank you. Can I move on to a little sidestep here?
go ahead, give it a shot.
All right. Well, here we go. So, you made some comments about rumors you've heard about we're not making wine on site and we're not growing grapes, and these are all accusations that are being addressed through legal. My firm and the town's firm. We are certainly growing grapes, harvesting grapes, and I have a product that's been bottled and it's for sale right now at the winery that has been dedicated to my late wife, that was grown on site. So these accusations that we are not a farm and that we're not producing wine on site are so far from the truth, it's pretty upsetting. As well as some of these accusations were brought to the ABCC, and they've come out to inspect, and they're the ones that govern what wineries, especially farm wineries, are doing.
Mhm.
And they have come out and passed me with flying colors, no issues whatsoever. Otherwise, they would have pulled my license or suspended it or done
Mhm.
something. None of that has ever happened.
That's great.
And this August will be my second anniversary. I've been told I'm by the ABCC, and I'm also governed by the TTB, the feds. I've been told I'm doing everything exactly the way I'm supposed to be doing it. So a lot of these false accusations and is pretty disheartening as I'm trying to provide a service to the community. So I just wanted to clarify that, because these accusations come out periodically, and they're so far from the truth.
I said it,
It's saddening.
and I said it. You heard me say it, Jim, and that was a mistake to have said that, because I said it without knowing the facts, and I was guilty of repeating what I have read instead of what I should know.
And I'm not faulting anybody, but at some point I got to stand up for myself. We're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, what we're allowed to do, and that comes right from the state. And these guys don't mess around. When they've come out to that one time to visit, I was impressed with them, but they inspected my facility and they told me I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. So
Good.
that's
Excellent.
Great.
I
And
just
it's,
wanted to put that out there. That's all.
okay, and it's good to have a tax-paying business that hopefully is making some money, or will.
Well, hopefully someday, maybe my son will, or my grandkids will.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So,
I just wanted to clarify that. I want to thank you for your support and hopefully I've clarified the schedule for you for the installation of the system. And if you ever have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me.
Okay.
and
Jim,
remember, it's
keep
not,
up the good work.
yeah, and we're working with you to cover our minimum, recognizing that this doesn't comply with the system. It's not that you're installing the system, it's you're installing a component of the system, but that component is the one with extra labor and extra cost of managing the system, the pipe, not the tank, that you can make it so that you're not damaging the environment or the or the neighborhood, and it just means it's extra work for you, but it's not the complete system.
I get it. I understand, and we're moving forward on a lot of different components of the whole operation. So,
Yeah.
I'm
From our
happy to be here, and
standpoint,
I'm happy to work with you.
Yeah, and it absolutely complies. Once you do this, it deals with the short-term Board of Health issues. That it gets your sewage from the surface and also from porta potties into a tank in the ground, and then you take it off to a treatment plant. But essentially the environment doesn't know where you're taking it. It's just grief on your case to manage it. So that's a good
Understood.
thing.
It is.
It's a good thing.
Well, yep. Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
All right,
Jim. Thanks for
all right.
coming in.
Thanks,
Yep.
Jim.
All right.
Be well.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good night.
Bye.
So do we want to get back to our list of things? So we've done the purchase request. We started onto the permits. The first one, now on all of these, I'm going to ask if the systems, if these vendors don't have toilet facilities, which I don't know that any of them do, and they're asking for a permit to operate at Charter Day, do we in fact give them, even though we've charged for a yearly fee, do we limit it to Charter Day since they haven't specified that they've got toilet facilities?
Well, yeah, don't they rent that facility out every weekend over the summer, don't they?
I'm just saying, if they're asking for Charter Day and don't have toilets, and they don't have, so if they pulled up in the back of the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church when it was closed down and set up and started to sell, that they don't have a place to go to the bathroom.
Right.
So if they've said they want to operate at Charter Day using Charter Day's toilets, do we only authorize them to do that? I think we do.
I know that Hart's Catering Concessions, she also brings her business to the wine house, but if they have restrooms.
Okay, if they have it too. So can we,
they don't have their own restrooms, but I'm saying the wine house.
So do we, on all of these, say that they're only approved for locations where they have access to toilets? Could we do that?
Well, I think that's a reasonable approach.
Toilets and running water, correct?
Well, some of them say that they've got self-contained water.
Well, the self-contained water is not hot water. It's nice for people to wash their hands with hot water.
Well, they're supposed to.
Right. So
Especially in
self-contained
food
water
service,
is
yeah.
unlikely to be hot water.
Okay, then let's say it. Then we'll say toilets and running water, running hot water.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The first one is Hart's Catering and I may have these out of order. Hart's Catering and Concessions. They've got a permit to operate a food server, and then they've got another one that. Why do I have Hart's Catering and Concessions. I've got two of these.
Yeah, she's putting up two, she doesn't have a big, truck. I think she sets up like something.
Okay.
But she's having two at Charter Days.
And she has an agreement with a base of operation at Yard
Yes.
Tavern in South Hadley.
Yes.
So do we have Lynn do the inspection in this one? So all of these that we do are subject to having access to a toilet and running hot water. That's what we said. So are we okay with Hart's Catering on both of those?
Yes, if they have a toilet and running hot water, yes.
Okay. Lee, are you too?
Yes, do we, not that it matters, but, well, I'll ask anyway. At one point in time, the fee for the permit was some minimal amount just to, I don't know why, help out or something. But now we've crossed the line, we have Lynn and things are different. Does the fee structure that we're operating with for what we're doing?
Yeah.
It's a
So
hundred.
today it's $100 for each of these.
It's 100.
Okay.
But you're
so
right,
that-
in terms of Lynn's new fee structure, it probably doesn't.
Okay. I'm just thinking of the past when it was, I don't know, $20 or something like that, way back when.
Yeah, now it's 100, but I think it may not cover, but my suggestion is we don't change it for this event, but that these things are already paid.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just thinking of tomorrow, that's all.
Yeah. But I think this just covers about what Lynn gets now, I think, Colleen, doesn't it, 100? I think so.
Yes. Yeah, that I think covers.
So we're not losing money, but we're not really covering.
I don't think we're gaining.
Understood. I get it. Okay.
Oh.
Just a point of curiosity.
Okay. So Colleen, can we talk about the next time? Put that down. That I've got Finelli, French fries. There's a bunch of Finelli ones, but Finelli also has a certificate of base of operation. So we've got Finelli French fries, Finelli lemonade, Finelli is also Gina's fried dough. So what else? We've got Finelli confection.
Mhm.
Do I have more, Colleen?
There's 4. I think you got them
There's
all.
those 4, and they've supplied us with the use of kitchen and base of operation agreement that's signed. It's at Hollis Hills Farm in Fitchburg, Mass. Are we okay with these?
Yes.
So these are subject to the same thing, Lynn's inspection and access to toilet and hot running water. Every one of these, Colleen, that we've approved.
Okay.
Bill, are you okay with those?
Yes, that's perfect, Dick.
Okay. The next one is, this one's D&J concessions. That's what we just talked about, right?
No,
That's the
there's
smoker, right?
no. It's D Smoke and Savor is
Okay.
the.
So I've
smoker.
got D&J concessions.
Oh, D&L concession.
D&L concessions.
Concession. Yeah.
Now this one, Colleen, this is the one that we've got the thing from the city of Holyoke or Holyoke
No,
Community.
no, this one is, they are from East Hampton and they use, I sent that in a separate email because I couldn't print it and scan it, but they use Smithsonian Chowder House has a commercial kitchen that they rent out in the back, and they do, I guess they do a lot of concessions, and that's the kitchen they use. So I
Did they
had,
send you a contract
I-
saying they have with it?
it's, I couldn't print it off, but I sent you the emails. I sent you the two emails, and one is a permit to operate for the Chowder House or catering, Smithsonian Catering. I think it's catering or something. And the other one is, it was two files. And she said, yes, we use this. We never have an issue with anyone, and that's where they go. It's a rental, I think it's an agreement. It's a rental agreement to them or something.
Because I saw
Right.
one
Mhm.
that came in that says we're paying, that we charge $500 a month.
Right.
But it doesn't, it's not an agreement. It just says that it's like their policy, but it's not a contract.
But
I
I think
wonder
it
if that would
said
include
to
some kitchen
DNL
privileges.
concessions, didn't it? It's a
That's what
rental
I'm looking for.
agreement.
These are the guys out of Hatfield.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't get it off my computer to print, so I don't have it here with me, but,
Well, some of I don't have it either, and it's in
I
my
think
list
it's
of,
on the computer. I don't know if you have it, Bill, but, cause I couldn't print it.
What do you need, Colleen?
It's the DNL concessions, and it's their agreement, rental agreement with the Smithsonian Chowder House
Oh,
or
okay.
Smithsonian Catering.
Yeah, I can find that. Yeah, that's on Elm Street up in Hatfield.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it's Route 5.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been in, well, under a different name. He used to have a couple different names. Let's see. I have to click on cars.
and
Oh,
does it say that there's actually an agreement there?
yeah, hold on one second. Um, okay, here we go. Base of operation.
Yeah, she, that's what she's,
Yeah, here it
he
is.
labeled it base of
Yeah, let
operation.
me see. Oh. Let me scroll over. Yeah, it's got the three. It's got Zagrodnik and two others. And it says a permit is granted to Smithsonian Catering. Town
Okay, and then there
Hatfield.
was another one too that I sent, and that was like a rental agreement.
Oh, okay, let me see if I can
And I
find
think
that.
it says like DNL concessions at the bottom that
Yeah,
they
oh,
were.
here it is. Here it is. Here it
Yeah.
is. Here it is. Okay, I got it. Oh yeah, rental agreement. Yeah, rental agreement between Benizia LLC of Hatfield, Mass, lessor, and DNL Concessions of East Hampton, Mass, the lessee, witness. So DNL is out of East Hampton.
Yes.
It is an agreement. It
Okay,
looks like
so
it's
we're all, so
and it's a $500 a month agreement. Yes, yes.
okay. So then we should be okay with that one, is that right?
If this is a
Sounds it, yeah.
legally binding agreement, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're okay with that one, Colleen, that's
Okay.
it.
Yeah, the
Okay.
date, and the date of the agreement was the 1st of April, 2020.
Oh,
Hope that wasn't an April Fool's joke.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
so the next one we have is Moser concession permit for mobile food service. That one I don't have. Oh, name of business, Chili's Bar and Grill. So that one's a signed one too.
I think they had one, right?
Yeah, that's for Moser.
Oh, yeah, Mosier. Yep, they had one.
And that's a signed agreement. So are we okay with this one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, Colleen, so we're okay with that one.
Okay.
The next one I have is Amy's Route 9 Bakery, and that one is,
Well, she's a baker. She's got a residential
she's
kitchen.
got a residential
So
kitchen,
she's
so she's
licensed.
okay.
Yeah, so she's licensed in Belchertown. Yeah.
So are we okay with that one?
Yes.
Bill,
Yeah,
are you?
yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
I am
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm looking at,
So-
actually, I'm looking at it right now in real time. It's 141 Federal Street, Belchertown, Amy's Route
Right.
9 Bakery. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Next one is Bass Ice Cream.
Mhm.
Now, Bass Ice Cream is,
I'm looking at that
they
one.
have one,
That's in Long Meadow.
Yep, they have one in
Yeah.
it's their Long Meadow place.
so they've got he's the owner of the Bass Scoop Shop, so they have their own store.
Yep.
Yeah, 447 Long Meadow Street, which is Route 5 in Long Meadow.
Yeah. So are we okay with that one? Looks like we are.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Colleen, we're okay with that.
Okay.
The next one is Mr. B's Kettle Corn. Now that one, he doesn't have that,
No,
but the question is,
he's just kettle corn.
yeah, the question, he comes in with a bag of corn, does he? And sugar.
Yep. That's all. Yeah.
Well, again, it might have peanuts in it too, so it's a potentially
That's true.
hazardous material, peanuts.
So you're right. So he needs a base of operations.
He's got 75 Harrington Road, Chicopee.
He's got popcorn, glazed pop caramel, oil, Domino sugar. That's what he uses.
Oh, yeah, here it is here. Yeah, 75 Harrington Road, Chicopee. He's got an email. What else?
But in reality, he could be storing this stuff in a mouse-infected garage,
Oh, yes.
infested garage.
Now,
Yeah, I told him, and I even emailed him today and said I don't have the base of operate. I told him, and when he came in, he needed it, and then I sent him another thing today and said we're looking for the base of operations, and
yeah.
I
Now,
didn't get
Dickie,
anything.
he doesn't have Safe Serve. He's got what they call Trust 20 Food Handler Certificate, whatever that is. And then he's got, from the Commonwealth, a hawker peddler license, which probably doesn't mean much. And then
No.
he's got,
I think he doesn't comply with the regulations.
then he's got Certificate of Allergen Awareness Training from the Commonwealth. So he does have that.
Okay, I think all the guy's doing is making popcorn.
Yeah. He's
Basically,
just doing
yeah.
popcorn, kettle corn, or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, you just throw in some, you cook the corn with a sugar base, and it
Yeah.
obviously sweetens on the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
But in reality,
I-
if we're
I-
not careful, if we say, well, this guy does need it, this one doesn't, we're gonna be
oh,
up
for sure, yeah,
the
we
creek.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you,
can't
Dick.
selectively let some in and some out.
So he just has to do it, Colleen. So we're not gonna do that one.
Okay, so my question is, he brought the fee in. You know, if the permit doesn't get approved, does the fee get refunded?
If Lynn doesn't go out to inspect them, it would seem to me that, yeah, that he's paid the fee and we've rejected it and we haven't
just-
done anything.
Yeah, I don't want to submit the payment to the treasurer and then, you know,
Have to get it back.
Right.
yeah, go through a
Yeah, if
whole
he-
thing to get it back. So if I know, I'll pull that out of the money, I think it's a money order, but I'll pull that out of the turnover and yeah, if he
Okay,
doesn't,
to help this guy out though, so let's get us into a spot that we don't leave him hanging. Because what Colleen just brought up is interesting, because let's say she calls him up and said, you better get this base of operations straightened out, and he comes in here tomorrow or the next day and gives it to Colleen. Are we going to say, if that's what held him up, if Colleen gets it, can we then say it's approved and she could give it to Lynn to do the inspection? Because otherwise,
That's fair.
if he's trying to do this at Charter Day and we don't meet for 2 more weeks, he's going to be up against it.
Yep, he's not gonna make it.
It sounds like his
Yeah,
base
that's
of
fair.
operation
He
is his
grabs the base
house,
of
which is
operations.
75 Harrington Road, Chicopee. And it says, will all foods be prepared at the mobile food unit, yes or no? And he didn't sign anything there.
yeah, he pops it there.
My guess is he does this at his house.
I think I've seen this guy. I think he operates out of one of the gas stations on Memorial Drive. And
I have seen
he's got-
someone there.
Oh,
You're right. I
really?
don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if it is this fellow.
Oh,
And he pops them right there, and he gets the smell of popping and to
Oh.
get people so that they want to buy it.
yeah,
But-
okay.
But my feeling is we ought to, if he can get his base of operations straightened out, that we let Colleen give it to Lynn for inspection.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so that's what we'll do, Colleen.
okay.
The next one that I have is Breezy Acres. That's a renewal for a food
Oh,
establishment.
you didn't do, the smoke and savor,
Oh.
Dee's.
Oh, maybe, let's see what
She's still on,
maybe I got
Diane's.
it out of order.
Yeah, she's still here on the meeting, so.
Okay, let me see where that is.
Okay, here.
Somehow it got out of whack on my list. So let's, on the smoker, that's the one that I have that doesn't have, isn't that one that's not a contract? That's the one that at Holyoke Community College, right?
Holyoke Community, yes.
Yeah, and so that's the one that I just spilled stuff on. It just says that the woman is the Stacy Graves, says that she has this facility, and it's a commercial pitching facility, and then it's got a copy of her license.
Mm-hmm.
But this doesn't have anything that says that the smoking people can use it. It's like a little sales brochure.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, this is Mr. Swanigan here.
Yes.
If it's required that we get a contract, I have no problem with it. But when you say a base of operations, like where the food's gonna be prepared at, The inspector came out and saw the smoker, and we will not be preparing anything off site. The meat's going to come straight from the store to the cooler, to the grill, salt, pepper. The corn is going to come from the nursery across the street there. We're going to throw it in the steamer and steam it. Nothing will be cooked off site. And if necessary for us to get a contract, we can do anything that is required so we can make it, so we can be a part of the town's celebration.
So I am Diana Swanigan, and I'm currently an instructor at that college. And the way they work it is we have 5 kitchens that are, bake shop and 4 kitchens that is certified and licensed. And that's how we teach the college students. I have all my allergens, Surf Safe, tip, you name it. But the way they work it there is if I need the kitchen, I will contact Stacy Grave because she is the facilitator there. And I say, hey, on this date, I need this kitchen. And then that's when they do contracts to anybody that calls the college to ask for a rental of the kitchen. We don't have like
Ongoing contract.
ongoing contract. Nobody there does, because sometimes we might not be able to get a kitchen depending how busy it is. And that's how the college works. The culinary
But
work.
that you would, as far as I could see it, you would at least need a contract with them saying, these people you guys be the people that can use this kitchen, and you say they can come in here, they can pay this much per hour, and you all sign it, and you use it when you need it. And if you don't need it, you don't use it. But there's a contract that says that's where you're going to go if you need it.
Understood.
Yep.
Understood.
If you have to, let's say your cuts of beef, that you buy your cuts of beef or pork or whatever, and they need to be cut up, and they have to be, while you're doing it, they need to be cooled, and they're too big for your coolers or whatever it is. It's the spot that you say, okay, I'm going there, and that's where I'm going to cut this up. And if I have to store it there a little bit, I'll store it there. And if you use it or don't use it, that's up to you. And how you pay for it, it's up to you. But that you've got a signed agreement that says if these people want to come here and use my kitchen, they can do it, and it's going to cost this much money. And you guys sign it, they sign it, and it say this is in place.
Okay.
Will that be the only requirement? Because that one is we have that one. That one's for
Get it.
sure. What else do we have to do?
You're going to get a thing on our license to you that says wherever you go, you have to have access to toilets and hot running water.
Okay.
At the
That's
facility.
all of these guys that just got approved for this are subject to the same thing. They have to have the base of operation, and they have to be inspected, which you've been inspected, and
Okay.
you have to have the access to toilet and running water. So you just can't pull up on the side of the road and say, okay, I'm operating.
I understand. Now, here's my question. So for charter days, right, I still need to provide a toilet and some hot running water for
No,
charter?
see what happens is they are going to provide. I've got to talk to them, but they've got to be the ones that provide you with the hot water and the toilets, and they actually supply water hookups for most of the people there.
Okay, that'll be fine. Now, here's my other question. Someone was telling me that I think they told my wife, as long as we set up and it's a grab and go, no seating, right? That we do or do not need a porta potty facility.
If you were just coming on the side of the road, you guys have to be able to go to the bathroom.
Yes, okay, that understood. But I can promise you, we won't set up anywhere on the side of the road. The primary place that I have an agreement to set up with, we haven't done anything in writing yet, because before I can give him anything in writing, he wants to make sure that we're abiding by the town's rules and regulations.
Yeah.
But the place is right across the street at the nursery, on the
Sure.
corner there, and at, you know, right there at Dickerson's. So
Sure.
if I need a porta potty, he's already told me, you know, he has one in the back already. So when I was talking to him, he called the porta potty guy. The porta potty guy said, "Sure, just call him. I think it's $1.80 or $1.60. He'll put me one there and he'll maintain it for me." Now on the hot and cold water, if I'm going to be there, right on the side of the road, I mean, you know, at the Dickinson corner there, I still need a base of operations certificate to where I'm.
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
So you get that, but you definitely, if you're gonna use that, again, that if you're gonna do Dickinson, what everybody else is doing the same thing as like the wine house, that you get a chance to say, okay, for the time I have to go to the bathroom, I get permission to go in and use your bathroom to wash my hands. And so Dickinson should be the same thing. You shouldn't be in a spot that your porta potty is next to your
No, I
your
never would. Never
your
would. Never would.
operation, and then after you don't have any place to wash your hands.
Okay, so I can get that from Dickerson, that I can wash my hands, that and I can use their restroom facilities. And if I get that in the base of operations, I've already had the inspection. That clears the
You're
way.
home free. You're home free. And what we've done with everybody else is you would have to get Colleen the copy of the base of operation. We don't want to get you in a spot that you have to wait 2 weeks for us to meet again.
Okay.
So what you would do is get Colleen that signed base of operation, and then you're going to have to just know that the license is going to have to say you've got permission to use the toilets and the hot water wherever you are. You just have to do that. You don't have to furnish that to us, but every place you go, you have to be that. So if you're going to Charter Day, that's already set up. You're set. And if you're doing Dickinson, you just have to say that if Lynn stops on the side of the road and sees you and she does an inspection, you better make it that Dickinson says, "Hey, I don't want these guys coming in here," because then that's big trouble. But you just have to say, when she says, "Okay, I'm going in to ask them," and they say, "Yeah, it's all set."
So I don't need anything from them in writing.
Well, I think that, did you check, I mean, the planning or zoning, would they have to approve that, Dick, too, for them to be allowed?
Oh, no,
I think that they, you know, have to be aware that there's going to be a food vendor set up at Dickinson's, and I think they would have to contact either planning or zoning to make sure that's okay. That's the only other thing I would think, you know.
And you could call the building inspector to make sure it's okay for you to park there.
Yeah, I think they've got to check with somebody on that just to make sure, because we've kind of run into that in other places in town.
When I spoke to the fire department and I was speaking to another gentleman, the only requirement was for the smoker was it had to be a certain distance from anything that was combustible.
Into 3 feet.
Yeah, within 3 feet of anything flammable, and we're going to be on the corner about 12 feet from the road. But I will certainly, now you say I have to get a hold of the building inspector.
What I would do is call Kathy Leonard over at the select board's office.
Kathy Leonard, write the name down. Okay, let me write that name down. Could you give me your number?
467-7177, right?
Yep.
Yes, 7177.
467-7177.
Yes, talk to Kathy there and just run it by her.
I think I did already.
Okay, I think you did.
Is she located at the senior center?
Yes.
Yes.
I think you were over there, Diana. I think you were over there.
Yeah, and I think I spoke to her already, and I think it was
okay.
Fine. Yes, it was fine.
Okay.
So now here's my last question. So as soon as I get the certificate for the business
Just
place,
bring it to her.
place of operation, we bring it to you, young lady, and then I can operate across the street and at charter days, as long as I have my staff has accessibility to toilet facilities and hot running water. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I love you guys, man. This is so great. This is-
Good luck. It's an interesting thing that Lynn said she had never done a smoker before, and she said she had to prepare for it, but it was an interesting operation.
yeah,
Oh, it took me a whole month for just the inspector at the fire department. They had to call Boston because it was like, we've never dealt with this before. And then they came back a month later and tell me, oh, you're fine. You don't even need a permit unless I decide to hook up propane. And that'll be in the near future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good luck. It'd be interesting to see you going.
Oh yeah.
well, I can guarantee you, I've been practicing on the temperature. She graduates as a chef on the 31st of this month, and I'm looking forward to bringing some hometown flavor to Granby for all of us.
Good. We look forward to your ribs.
Okay, so I guess we'll get back with you guys tomorrow, so I can make sure that my understanding is clear. As soon as I get the paper for the base of operations, I'm good.
Get that. Bill's right. Get the thing signed by Dickinson saying you can use the toilets and the hand washing. That way, when Lynn shows up, you say, "Here it is. We're all set," and then you're off to the races.
I love you guys. I'm
you.
gonna go make myself an iced coffee, man. Hey, thank you very much for your time and attention, and I'm looking forward to bringing some flavorful food to you. Have a
Very
good
good,
night.
sir.
God bless everybody.
Good luck. Good luck with your facilities. We'll
right.
see you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Bye.
Okay, let's keep going. So Breezy Acres Greenhouse and Garden. These are renewals. There's a food establishment, milk and cream, and retail food. Are we okay with that?
Yeah, Evelyn Hatch is good.
Yes.
Lee, are you set?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Colleen, that's approved.
Okay.
Boy, this thing keeps going. I was hoping for an easy one tonight.
Oh.
The next one is certificate of compliance. And this one is hard for me to read. Oh, this is Frank Souza's. This is on 116 Aldrich Street. This is for the new septic system. He's got pies and elevations. Lee, are we all set with that one?
Yes, Paul Luce here installed, and Neil was on site, of course, for the final. Yes.
Okay. Phil, are you okay with that?
Yeah. I drove by that about 10 times during construction on my way to Atkins, and that was a tight little site, Lee, but I think Paul does an excellent job, so it looked fine.
It was a really tight site. That's the one that I had Neil change around that thing to get it in to actually fit it in better.
Yeah.
So, but it is only a little corner that's in there.
Yes.
The next is a certificate of compliance. This is from Mike Petrus for Yao on 62 Ruby Street. That's the one that you went back out, Bill.
Yeah, I did a soil evaluation with Mike Petrus. Yes.
And Mike's got all the stuff in it.
Yeah.
Lee, are we okay with that one?
Yeah. Yes, that came out very good.
Okay, so we're okay with that one, Colleen.
Okay.
The next one is certificate of compliance. This is lot 1B, Burnett Street. This is Dakota Richards.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Neil Jackson submittal. We've got all the ties and elevations on that one. Lee, this is the one that was filled with water
Yes,
when I went
yeah,
by it.
yeah. Yeah, that was, Don Hess, installed that one. Yep,
There's a lot of digging out for that.
that was a big hole.
Yeah, that's the one they filled with the wrong material. They had to dig it all out.
Oh,
One way to learn.
So it's okay, Lee?
Yes, it is. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Bill?
Yeah, that's
I
good.
am too, Colleen, so that's that.
okay.
Next one is certificate of compliance. No, this is an application. It's not a certificate of compliance.
Yeah.
This is Brian Housechild. This is for a new tank and a new D-box. And this is just Colleen, this one is one RJL Contracting. Are they licensed?
That's the young guy, Jacob LaFleche, that you
Oh, okay.
talked to, I think the last meeting.
Yeah, okay. And now that one is supposed to have Neil or someone say they looked at it. Has Neil sent anything in saying he reviewed this?
He didn't send me anything. I did tell him that, and he said, oh, I talked to Neil about it. He said I didn't need anything, so I don't.
Neil, he does. He needs something from Neil saying I reviewed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I told him that, but
So my question, well, is this at Brian Housechild's house at 511 Amherst
Yeah.
Road? And did somebody go, is it already in? I had no idea. This is the first I've heard of it.
I
Right.
don't know.
Well, this is
Okay.
this is only an application, but I would, Colleen, can you get in touch with this guy and say that, number one, Neil's got to say that he reviewed it,
Yep,
and two, someone's got to inspect the installation.
yep.
What bothers me is there are some ties here. Let's just hope that he did the ties and he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think the deal was that Neil
I don't
was
know if
supposed to
that's-
be there before, during, and after
Yeah.
to look over his shoulder. I thought that was the agreement we had.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because this one's supposed to be a 1,500 gallon 2-compartment tank with a filter, and I don't see that that's in there. It's supposed to have, Neil is supposed to have been reviewing it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe nothing's been done. Maybe he's just taking out the permit. But definitely the engineer is supposed to be reviewing it. And so, as Lee is saying, for a guy that hasn't done any, for sure the engineer is supposed to be looking at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not approving this one.
Yep, okay. I'll let him know.
The next thing, let's see. So we've got 1 Jennifer Drive, Nick Toretti. I don't understand this one. That's a Title V. It's a fail, but we already ended up with a fail. And isn't this the one that the guy from,
Yeah.
I don't know, West
the
Hampton or
one.
whoever designed it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The
Oh, yeah,
homeowner
that was,
said something
that's
about,
Frank around the corner from me, Dick. I was talking to
Yeah.
Colleen about that. It's absurd. I'm guessing he probably got the budget number for the installation and he says, well, I'll take a chance in doing a Title V, and he rolled the dice and he lost. That's my guess.
Or he did, would he need it
Or
for
the
the
bank
bank
needed
or
it.
something?
The bank
Maybe he
may have
needed it
needed
for
it.
the bank. I don't know.
I did it. I forget what
I
the,
think,
the
yeah, he might have gone out of sequence.
Yeah, that was
Mm.
Tim McGinnis did the design there.
yeah, but
Mhm.
didn't he also
Right.
do the Title V and say it failed?
Yeah, they did the
I think he
Title
went
V
back to-
after the design was approved. That made no sense.
Right. I think because he didn't bother with a Title V initially, and because he knew it was bad, he went right to the design. But there's something about money, and the money won't move until he fails Title V,
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
even though it's backwards for sure.
yeah.
okay.
But the homeowner I met, I said, I don't know why I'm here, and he said, I got something about the fact that Tim didn't fail it. Tim just went right to design.
Mhm.
Okay, okay, so that's the reason, okay.
Mhm.
The next one is 181 West State, that's something special. Looks like Peretti went back in and included the fact that the reason we couldn't find the SAS is, I talked to Bob Sheehan, is because he didn't give us the SAS. The
Oh.
SAS is further to the north across that swamp and brook. And
Right.
it's on the same plane as the town garage on the
Right.
opposite side of the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah, Dick, I talked to Barry Bernier out there last week, and he's got a septic tank and a pump chamber, and he's got another 3-inch line. His system is right next to the Chateau system across the way. You're absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
And he's got,
Yeah.
apparently what Bob Sheehan told me is Barry gets up there and every 2 weeks he mows it. When I went by it, absolutely, you can see the fence, and it's very, very well maintained mounted system.
Good.
So
So they
that
dug
one-
a 10-foot deep hole off the side of that field, and we went down 10 feet. No rock, no water, no anything.
Yeah. Okay, and then the next one is 227 East Street. Alan Weiss did the passes. That one's on top of the hill when you're going towards Ludlow, the last hill. This one's on the north side, and it's a big monster system that was designed for water table, and it came out that it's a pass. It was a modern design, but a big monster system with like 30-inch soil. It's a big system. But that passed too. So are we all set with those three?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, me too, Colleen. So we're
Okay.
set.
Mhm.
Flooding at 14 Ken Lane. We've got actually David is sitting there patiently all night. I was not able to well, the bottom line is David has talked to different people, but he's had flooding in his cellar, and as with most people having flooding in their cellar that are in high water table areas with systems or with cellars that are down in the sand and in the water. But so David actually went and hired somebody. They put in the drains and the pumps, and he doesn't have any place to pump his water. Right now he's pumping it out into the back. I don't know what its path to the brook is. It may not be a very good path, but originally that pipe system that was put in, the little 1.5-inch pipe system, was supposed to have 2 pipes in it that went to the manhole and went to where 12 is pumping, and they only put in 1 pipe. So Dave tried to get a hold of Chris Martin. I've been trying for a couple of days. I will get them. I'm sure we'll get them. I did talk to Dave DeRocher today. I left a message and he called me back, but he called me from London, England, and he's on vacation. And he said he would talk about it when he gets back next week. So let's see if we can get that second pipe put in. So I was gonna, since we had got a letter from or a text, something from the select board, and I was gonna send something out that suggests we send something to Dave. You know, David said, gee, I've got water here. Everybody come down and look at it. And we're gonna send a letter saying you're living in an area that your bottom of your cellars may be 5 feet below the water table with sand. So you should expect to see water. But David is already dealt with it. He hired a guy that put in a big sump pump, put in the sealing system, and he's just looking for a place to get his water to get to the brook. So that was my report. I don't know what else at this point, what we can do other than to work with Dave DeRocher. We can get back, and hopefully Chris before he goes and really retires. What do we, Lee and Bill, what do you think?
Well, is David on with us tonight? Is there something that we're missing that we can address with either Chris Martin or Dave DeRocher?
Well, David's got something for sure to address. It went from last week or the week before where David has said, you know, the neighbors were causing the problem, or maybe his wife said it, but somebody out of his house said that the neighbors have caused the problem. And Dave told me that he's talked to someone on the Conservation Commission that said Jimmo is causing the problem, and in reality, what I was going to suggest the board do is send Dave something that said the problem is the house and its location. But David is taking care of all of that. He's spent the money. He's got the thing repaired, and he's got his pump in there. He's got everything he needs to do. He just needs an outlet for his water, and that's what he's looking for.
Okay, so is the plan for the water to go into a line into the catch basin? Is that what we're thinking about?
Yeah, what happened?
What 12 has?
Yeah, what happened, Lee, is that the original agreement that we had with the town was that they were going to put in 2 pipes, 2 1.5 pipes. One that we knew that 12 was going to go into, and it turns out that 10 also tied into it, and that the other one was going to be there in the event that David's house did in fact need a place to put it. We were anticipating that the water table was going to come back and get David in trouble. So that the plan was to make sure that there was a place for David's house to go if it was needed. So we anticipated that this might happen, but they made a mistake and they only put 1 pipe in. So the issue is now, will they come back and fix it and put the thing in? And it wasn't tons of money at the time, and so it really is for Chris to, 1, agree to do it, and 2 is to release. It's going to be another $1,000 or thereabouts out of that fund that he's got from the state to be used for septic systems. So that's the goal of the Board of Health, right? Or where we could help David is to intercede and say, could you please put in what we knew we needed and didn't go in by accident, and could we please get that in so that David can hook his house up and get it into that catch basin? When I went down a couple weeks ago, David talked to me and he says, are you sure I got water in my cellar? And are you sure that 12 is actually running their sump pump and are they stopped and is that causing the problem? And I told Dave, I said, the way you tell is you just go and look in the catch basin and see what's happening. So I did go and I timed it and I could actually see what was happening when 12 pump was running, because I know they've got the big one, and 10 also has a pump that's going in, and you could see the difference at times when 10 was running, and it was kind of little flow going, and you could even see when 10 and 12 together was running. But if you look at when 12 is running, when is my guess is when you look at an inch and a half pipe worth of flow coming out, this water was coming out so fast that it goes all the way across the catch basin and it hits the far wall, and it was running half the time. So my rough engineering was that they were pumping more than 100 gallons a minute out of there for half the time. So there's a huge amount of water that's coming out of that place that's being pumped out of that area. So that the likelihood of that line being big enough to take a third pump is not very good. And David's pump, what David told me is he's got his new pump is a really big pump. So when it starts pumping, it's going to pump a lot of water at any one time. So that the solution is that either Dave's backyard is sloped enough that it goes to the brook by itself, which I don't think it is. I think it's sitting out there in a pond and coming back to its house.
The way our
Or
yard,
else
the
it
way
gets
our
into
yard
the
is
pipe,
pitched,
and we need the pipe to get put in.
the way my yard is pitched, everybody around me is basically flowing into our property. The people that came out and installed our drain system, the perimeter drain in the cellar with the pump, he walked around our yard and he said that the water in the east, the properties on the east and the south of us is sloping down into our yard. That's where all our water's coming from. So the property's not graded right, but I think, didn't you suggest to me, Dick, why don't we run it out to the road right now?
Yeah, I said it. The reason I said it is because if it goes out to the road, it at least leaves your property, and everybody says, "Hey, this is a big problem. Let's get this thing fixed in a hurry." When it goes in your backyard, it doesn't get, no one except you sees it, and it doesn't go anyplace.
The issue with, I'm kind of really totally against putting it in the road because what happened with, 12 Can Lane for a lot of years going into the road, it was washing out the bottom of Bailey's and Ed Carter's driveway. So we put water in the road here and the neighbors are going to be all over you guys again. That doesn't make sense.
No, what makes sense, Dave, is to put the pipe in and get it to the
Pipe
catch
it.
basin where
Dave,
it
we're
needs
gonna
to
pipe
be.
it down to the catch basin down the street. We're gonna hard pipe it.
See there, I think
That's what makes sense, and that's what needs to get done, and we just have to hang in for a week or so more.
that installed our perimeter system. It is below about 20 inches below the surface, and there's a 4-inch corrugated pipe that goes around the cellar, all around the perimeter to a pump. I have an estimate from them come and dig in my yard with a ditch witch below the frost line and bring it out to the street by September.
Yeah, so let's get this thing done. It was the biggest problem was trying to get the guy that did the job scheduled to get in and get the thing done. So let's get David back and for sure our goal needs to be that this gets resolved before Chris leaves at the beginning of June. So we only have a couple weeks to get this done.
At least we can get it resolved, by late October, before the cold weather sets in.
Yeah, but you're gonna be fighting, Dave. You can't, you just like your neighbor, you can't pump it in the backyard and have it come right back in. Finally, you just have a big pond back there, and it's
I-
gotta
I-
leave your property.
get it. We had five 12-gallon shop vacs in my cellar going 24/7.
yeah, I've done that before.
We're up 48 hours at a time with 3 hours sleep. And I had
Yeah.
a pump out my back, with a 5/8 hose to get the water out of the shop vacs. And I'm sure that water was just coming right back in.
It's the same exact
Yeah.
problem, Dave. So we've got to give you an idea, as I said, if she's got 100 gallons a minute running half the time, she's got an average of 50 gallons a minute leaving her foundation. So that
when
water is all going out of there.
When I
And
was
so you're going to be in the same kind of boat.
when I was mowing today, I saw the discharge pipe twice, put out maybe a half a gallon of water at a time. That was it. I was surprised. I think it's drying out now with the system down there,
Yeah.
you know.
So anyway,
Well,
that's
when
what
you- When you
that's
get to
what
that
we have.
point, make sure that the discharge pump that David has, that Dave DeRocher calibrates the pipe he's going to install. In other words, an 1.5 inch might choke it if the pump has got that much of a head to it. You may need to go to a 2.5 or a 3 to
It's running
handle
up
that volume.
around 5 horsepower.
Use a bigger
That's
pump.
that's a big pump. That 5 horsepower at 10 feet ahead should be able to do about 500 gallons a minute.
Well,
So
this whole system is guaranteed for life, and it's also transferred to the new owner. The warranty.
yeah, but it has to be that you get the water out of there though. It can't, if your house goes underwater, it's not going to be guaranteed. You got to get it out of your property. So that's the part we've got to do. And I'll still stay after Chris. I don't know even that Chris is working this week.
Yeah,
But-
all right. Just keep me in the loop and call me if you need to.
Okay.
That's fine. And if DeRocher needs information about the pump, I'm sure I can get him the information he needs.
Okay. Well, he won't be back till next week. So
Like I said, anytime between now and when the snow flies.
no, we got to do that. We got to do this before that. We got to, we're going to strike now while the iron's hot, and let's get it done.
Eddie, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
Dave.
good night.
We're looking at it on the
Thank you.
conservation and we can talk about that later. Thank you.
By the way, I did send out to everybody my shot at pulling together all the regulations and our agreements so that we can go over it one more time, but I didn't get it till this afternoon, so you probably haven't had a chance to read it.
Yeah. We'll do that next time,
No.
Dick.
So we do that.
Okay.
Gonna reorganize.
We need to reorganize. So what do we want to do?
Dick, your chair and then Lee can be back up.
Is that what you want to do, Lee? I'm willing to do that. It's not the neck to do this, but I'm willing to do it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
too. So that's our new organization, Colleen.
Okay,
The same as the old organization.
okay.
So
I have a question for just 2 quick things, I hope. Do we need or do we have a water quality from the Dufresne's property with Charter Day around the corner?
We have what I was told by Crystal is her husband has been running the pumps out there because they haven't been run, and that they're due to test the well next week. Or
Okay.
test the wells.
Okay. And Colleen, one quick question for you, please. Have you heard any application for a construction on 49 Barton?
No.
That house that was transferred ownership, some cash deal, the septic
Yes.
was never addressed. We're out
Yeah,
there a
and
year and
in
a half.
fact, the guy
2 years
came in,
ago.
remember Lee came in and said it just failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw the owner in the annex, and I asked him if he was, what he was doing about that. He said that Neil is doing the design, and I don't know, maybe this Jacob LaFlesh was going to be the, I forget who he said. I think it was this Jacob LaFlesh was going to be the installer. So he said Neil was working on the design. That is what I was told.
Lee, did you do the perk?
No, I don't think so. It was over, I think it was like 2 years ago. They dug some holes, nothing, there was no design drawn forward. The whole thing just fell apart. I don't know if they didn't get paid or what happened, but I just had a question actually at the polls last night from the property owner of the adjacent piece of property of what was going on.
We have at least 3 of them that are in that mode right now. We've got that one. We've got the one at the corner of Barton and Pleasant Street, the yellow brick house, and we've got the one that was next to Steve Zabin's house on South Street.
Oh, that's right too. Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And actually, we've got another one that I don't know what's going on with. If you go across across New Ludlow Road to the south on Morgan Street, that house that's in there, about 3 houses in, that people are doing all sorts of work in there, and that's got a water table that's about level with the ground.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Well, Colleen, maybe you can put those on our list for the next meeting.
Okay.
In the next meeting, Bill, are we in trouble? Let's see with you. Let's see where we're.
Our next meeting is the 10th of June.
So
it should be the 3rd. June 3rd.
Oh, you're the 3rd? Okay, so there's no conflict, so that's fine.
Okay.
That works fine. Yeah, conservation meets the 10th.
Okay, so we're okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just do that at 7 o'clock, and we'll do that.
Okay.
Very, very good.
Okay, everybody. Good luck
Okay.
tomorrow, Lee. Bill. I'm gonna before
thank you. Yeah,
before
thank
you
you.
do that, let me shut off the recording. I have to find. You know what? I'm just looking at. I've got mute. Oh, here's stop recording.